Hello, my name is Tessa Asquith-Lam and I'm an artist. I work at the City Arts Centre and other venues, running workshops and also leading described tours for the visually impaired. In today's video, I'll be describing works from the exhibition When the Apple Ripens, Peter Howson at 65. This is a major retrospective featuring over 100 works dating from his student years to the present, including paintings, drawings, etchings and monoprints, covering subjects of masculinity, war, faith, conflict, and recent works dealing with the pandemic and war in Ukraine. Many are from private collections and have not been shown in public before. Peter Howson was born in Isleworth, West London, in 1958, moving to Prestwick, Scotland at 4 years old. His love of art was encouraged by his family. He attended Glasgow School of Art and was a key member of a group of young artists who emerged from Glasgow School of Art during the 1980s, known as the New Glasgow Boys. His early work is dominated by images of working-class Glasgow men, boxers, bodybuilders and dossers. In 1985, he was made artist-in-residence at the University of St Andrews whilst working as a part-time tutor at Glasgow School of Art. In 1993, he was appointed official war artist in Bosnia by the Imperial War Museum. The works resulting from this traumatic and harrowing time were shown in a solo exhibition at the Imperial War Museum. In 1996, he was awarded Doctor of Letters honoris causa at the University of Strathclyde and was awarded an OBE in 2009. His work is represented in many national and international collections. His powerful figurative art is instantly recognisable and deals with themes of struggle, war, religion and aggression, underpinned by his Christian faith and a search for truth. Please be aware I will be describing images with subject matter that some people may find distressing. The first painting I'm going to describe is titled Regimental Bath and is a portrait format oil-on-canvas work dating from 1985. It measures 185 centimetres high by 138 centimetres wide. In a dark, claustrophobic room lit by a single light bulb, top right, a group of soldiers crowd around a bath, grappling with and torturing a figure in foul water, excrement, urine, and metal polish. The artist briefly left art school to join the army in 1977, immediately regretting his decision after witnessing the physical and mental cruelty inflicted on soldiers by their peers. The broad strokes of oil paint create a flickering, sickly, greenish-yellow light over the surface of the figures with deep, dark shadows. From the centre top of the composition, the head and shoulders of two soldiers look down like an audience. They wear green or khaki shirts, and their hard-set expressions are strongly lit from a bright, bare light bulb top right. The figure on the left has their hand on a rail that separates the clothed figures above from the naked ones around the bath below. In the centre top of the image, a figure with close-cropped dark hair and a cigarette in his mouth reaches forward over a bath to grasp his thick interlocked fingers around the neck of the figure in the bath. He is visible from the chest upwards. To the right, a figure with their back to us squats on the edge of the bath and looks up towards the two figures above, his head in profile. To his right, on the far edge of the image, is a part of another naked figure with ruddy skin seen in profile with mouth open. In the centre of the image, the face of the figure being held or grappled with in the bath is dramatically lit. Pale, sickly-looking, soft, pale brushstrokes show the figure to be partly submerged in water. Their right arm reaches out towards the viewer, bottom left, and their left arm forms a fist to the right of the image. An open doorway in a curved wall to the left, which stretches the length of the artwork, shows a ruddy-faced officer in uniform with stripes on his arm passing by, facing the left. He has a stick under his arm and an exit sign is hung above him. He makes no attempt to stop the violence and abuse going on in the bath. The wall to the far left of the image is dirty red in colour. Another naked figure leans in through the doorway on the left, reaching over the figure's body. His knee is bent over what may be a bar of soap on the left corner. A surface angles in from the lower right of the image, holding a bottle marked Brasso, a type of metal polish. The artist has expressed the horror and inhumanity of the scene through the emphasis of body features and heightened facial expressions, a style known as expressionism. The dramatic, almost stage-like lighting fills the cramped space with dark terror. The next image is titled Barrier Sunset and was painted in 1995 and represents a response to the artist's experience as a war artist in Bosnia. It is an oil-on-canvas work measuring 122 centimetres high by 183 centimetres wide. This work is a landscape format painting with a bright yellow background of a sky streaked with red, the sunset of the title. A group of adults and children stand by a tree, centre right, with broken branches and vivid green leaves, its edges painted in red. A horizontal barrier fastened to a white post with a red round at top far right and a white pole crosses the picture. Holding back, a group of 6 adults, 3 men and 3 women, and children of varying ages, 6 on the ground and 3 more in their parents' arms. It is an image of a refugee family desperately seeking help but being barred from safety, an image of the displacement of peoples. The grass beneath their feet is a bright acid green along the bottom edge of the image, and above this are bands of emerald green, red and yellow, suggesting the land turning into the sky behind the group. The majority of the figures are staring towards us with dark, deep-set eyes. From left to right they are 2 young women standing close together, the figure on the left in a coat with prominent lapels and a checked skirt with her hands holding a small standing girl, middle left. In front of her, another woman with spiky hair and a checked skirt holds a baby up near her face. The baby wears a green hood and has an open mouth as if crying. By her knees, a boy in a cap crouches with his hands on his knees. Below this group, a small girl bends over, looking into the centre of the image, with her hands in claw-like shapes, highlighted pinkish red against the bright green grass. Moving into the centre of the image, directly behind a disc on the pole of the barrier, red in colour and pockmarked with possibly gunshots, is a group of 3 adults. From left to right, they are a bare-chested man with dark hair in khaki trousers with his thumbs in his waistband, a woman in the centre wearing a green short-sleeved dress and hugging her arms around her body, shoulders at an angle, and a man in a greenish suit with a small baby in blue held to his chest. The baby has its right arm raised, as if waving. To the far right, another man in a green jacket and green and red striped jumper holds 2 young children to his sides. A girl in a blue top and white skirt with green spots on the left has her arms raised to hold him, and a boy to the right raises his left arm to wave. In front of these figures are 2 more crouching children, their hands on the ground like athletes waiting to start a race, looking into the centre. The gaze of the figures from behind the barrier and the violent colours of the sky create a mood which is uneasy and full of tension. The next image I'm going to describe is titled Tiger and is a landscape format oil-on-canvas work from the year 2000 measuring 152.5 centimetres high by 213 centimetres wide. The artist was commissioned by a wildlife group to visit India in 1999, along with another artist, Nicola Hicks, a prominent animal artist and sculptor. Both artists were represented by the same London gallery. They visited Bandhavgarh National Park in the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, well known for its many Royal Bengal tigers. Peter Howson has painted the whole outline of a huge tiger prowling towards the left. Its body is in profile on the right, and its massive head turned towards us is on the left. Its tail, snake-like, curls into an S-shape top right. It is depicted as if walking along with all legs visible against a dark background. Perhaps it hunts by night. It stands alone in the image. Huge muscles move under its stripy fur, and the legs look thick and powerful. The fur, in tones of orange and softer yellow, has a network of dark stripes rippling across it. Wounds on the tiger's body ooze red blood drops on its side and back leg, testament to its recent battles. Its powerful face gazes at us with yellow, glistening eyes, rimmed with light fur. It has white, bristling whiskers and slightly visible teeth in its opening mouth. It is a fighter, waiting for the next attack or ready to defend. The next painting I'm describing is called Backstreet Crucifixion, which is a study for a larger painting. It is a landscape format oil on gessoed panel work from 2006. It is almost square in shape, measuring 20 centimetres high by 21 centimetres wide. In tones of brown and ochre, the crucifixion of Christ at the hands of Roman forces outside Jerusalem is depicted in a contemporary urban backstreet. A disc of light, top left, lights the scene like a searchlight. It spotlights the grisly scene of Christ being tied to a Y-shaped wooden post with thick ropes, his arms stretched out and back, his head bent forward onto his chest in the centre of the image. A loincloth covers his hips, and from there his legs bent towards the right, his right leg resting on a half-buried barrel. 4 powerful figures lean in around the figure of Christ, their lower legs disappearing into the darkness. They pull ropes around the figure, looping like snakes between them. A further figure to the right wears a cloak and pokes sticks or other weapons towards the figure being crucified. A female figure, face in profile, crouches at the feet of Christ, looking up into his face and clasping her breast. Perhaps this is his mother Mary, often shown at the foot of the cross in depictions of the crucifixion. The brushstrokes form a flickering light around the figures, highlighting the muscular arms of the men, and finely drawn hatched lines create details of hands, the wood of the cross, faces and expressions. Around the figure of Christ, white brushstrokes flicker as if he is glowing. The spotlight creates a vignette to light the horrific scene, and the edges of the painting disappear into smoke-like darkness. The final work I'm going to describe is called Job, an oil on canvas work from 2011. It is a portrait format work measuring 182 centimetres high by 152 centimetres wide. An old man, the biblical Job, with bald head and white beard, sits on the ground with legs crossed, with knees to the left and both bare feet to the right. His arms spread out to his sides and his shoulders are thrown back. All he wears is a tattered bluish robe around his thighs, with holes rent in it. His pale skin is covered in red sores. His mournful face has deep-set eyes, which look up to a dark blue sky glowing with a few white stars. He sits centrally in the picture, and the form feels anchored to the ground by his arm positions and the heavy arrangement of his legs. His head comes to centre top. Around him, a group of figures cluster to the left and right. Starting from the left, a female figure in blue-green with a veil around her head pours water from a round pot onto the sores on Job's right arm. Her eyes are downcast. This may be Job's wife. Above her, a figure cowled in red, with angry staring eyes and pursed lips, looms up to top left, only visible as a head and shoulders. Perhaps this is Elihu, one of Job's friends, who tells Job he has to humble himself and submit to God's use of trials to purify his life. To the left is a building with a flat roof and a single glowing yellow window. To the right of Job are 3 figures, perhaps Job's friends, Bildad, Eliphaz and Zophar, 2 in profile and 1 top right facing out towards us. The figure closest to us has a red sleeve with a dark cloak buttoned with a red button on top of it. All have cowled heads and reach out their fingers towards Job. They come to comfort him, but also tell him he is being punished for his sins. The story of Job is that of a wealthy man who is devout and yet has everything he holds dear taken from him by Satan, who is sure he will turn from his faith in God if he no longer prospers. In this image, we see him tormented by terrible sores. He stays silent before God, understanding his affliction is God's will, even when he despairs as to why this has happened. From this story, we get the phrase, the patience of Job. In the end, God restores everything that was taken away from Job. It is an image of suffering and belief. The story of Job addresses the question, Why do good people suffer? In these 5 images, we have explored the subject matter and highly expressive images favoured by Peter Howson from his early works of army experiences and his time as a war artist, his extraordinary powerful image of a tiger from his time in India, and more recent works which speak of his faith and echo back images from art history and give modern-day settings to biblical events. The images are defined by strong, show-drawn outlines, emphasized musculature and facial features, and stage-like, highly considered lighting effects to create works of powerful narrative.